spent more money in real terms on health, more money in real terms on education, more money in real terms on fighting the causes of crime. And as a direct result of that, we are a happier, healthier, wiser nation than ever before.
Minister, have I got a sign on my head saying I am a fucking idiot?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Because why else would you expect me to believe what is the biggest load of wank I've ever heard in my life?
It is abundantly clear that this nation is enjoying
It's
the biggest...
abundantly clear that this nation's enjoying the biggest load of steaming jizz from your god.
It is what the nation knows to be the truth.
It's what the nation knows to be a double spurt of creamy load.
It is the truth.
It's cock custard.
Well, if you will let me finish...
No, fuck off. Over to the rest of the day's headlines from Kirsty. Joining me now is the Minister of State for Health, Robin Winslow. Mr Winslow, you've announced an increase in NHS spending today, but it's nowhere near the £2 billion promised, is it?
Oh, yes, it is. We've made a wide-ranging series of very important changes to the health service, of which these increases today form just a very small part.
They're not the £2 billion promised, are they?
Yes, they are, Jeremy. If you look at the costs of
You
restructuring...
counted the cost of restructuring in last year's figures. You can't count the same cost twice, you piece of shit.
No. These increases are consistent with the published figures.
You're a lying shit, aren't you?
If you look at the restructuring and the funding involved...
You're a shit, aren't you?
Jeremy, what I'm saying to you is you cannot...
Are you or are you not a shit?
You cannot take these figures in isolation.
Are you a shit? It's a simple question.
If you look at the published figures, you will see that the increases are consistent.
I don't wish to hark on about this, Minister, but I must have an answer. Are you a shit?
The figures published clearly show...
You're being a shit now, aren't you?
Clearly show that we have made substantial increases in health spending.
So, no, you're not a shit. Yes, you are a shit.
They are substantial in unequivocal terms.
You shit. Yes, no.
And the increases we've announced today are bigger in real terms than any increases made by the Tories.
Yeah, one final question, Minister. Are you a shit?
I've answered your question as clearly as I can.
Yes, I think you have. Minister, thank you.
Thank you.
Kirsty. The Conservatives have today launched yet another of their campaigns to save the pound. I'm joined by the man behind it, Tory spokesman on Europe, Sir Craig Mackay. Sir Craig, in brief, what's your strategy for saving the poor old pound?
Well, Jeremy, as you know, there's been a sort of drip effect, eroding away at the credibility of the pound in the newspapers and, if I may say so, in programmes such as this one. It's an almost subliminal process by which vested interests seek to establish the euro as the natural next step for Britain. That would mean, of course, that the euro was unchallenged as a predominant currency throughout Europe, and Britain would finally have joined Euroland.
Carry on, no one's listening.
Well, what we're trying to do is bolster the pound, and by that I mean its perceived status.
Actually, go away, will you dismal old fart? Kirsty, the underlying level of inflation has risen for the fourth month running. It now stands at 4.1%. Joining me in the studio is Minister of State for the Economy, Paul Brockett, MP. Mr. Brockett, what's gone wrong?
Well, nothing's gone wrong, Jeremy. These figures are entirely in line with government policy.
You yourself said inflation would be down to 3.7% by March. It's now March.
Well, no, I never said anything of the kind.
Yes, you did. You said it on this very programme 3 months ago.
With respect, Jeremy, I didn't. What I in fact said...
You fucking did.
No, Jeremy, I never said anything of the kind. What I in fact said was that if the growth in the economy continued at a relatively low rate...
Bollocks!
Then we could expect to see inflation come down to about the figure I quoted.
You never said that, you smug wanker.
But as it is, the economy has, under this government, continued to grow.
You lying sack of spunk.
And as a result of this, obviously, the inflation rate is much higher than anticipated.
Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now over to Kirsty for the rest of the day's headlines, Kirsty. Wilkie, it's all a bit of a shambles down at Central Office, isn't it?
No, not at all. Certainly one or two mistakes have been made.
You presided over these mistakes. Doesn't that mean that you, personally, are incompetent?
No, absolutely not. And I think these mistakes to which you are referring happened during a transitional time.
Come on, Mr. Wilkie. You've got shit for brains, haven't you?
No, not at all. And I strongly resent the hostile attitude you're taking with these questions.
Even your own party members think you're an incompetent little twat, don't they?
No, Jeremy, I'm sorry. You have been interviewing for long enough to know that that sort of question isn't going to get a response from me.
Fuckwit, aren't you, Mr. Ruthie?
No, right, that's it. I'm not prepared to continue with this interview any longer. I'm not going to stand here and be insulted by the likes of you.
Look at you. You can't even get your microphone off, you hopeless little wanker.
You see, that is symptomatic of the sort of journalism that really
Oh,
is...
for fuck's sake. It can't be that difficult to walk out of the studio, even for a tragic little twat like you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Here with the rest of the day's headlines is Kirsty. Today in Parliament, the Prime Minister hinted that the government's considering a cut in the top rate of income tax. I'm joined by Treasury Minister Caroline Smith. Mrs. Smith, Margaret Thatcher'd be proud of the Prime Minister, wouldn't she?
No, Tony's policies are entirely different to Mrs. Thatcher's.
She cut the top rate of tax, now Mr. Blair's copying her.
No. Tony's policies are quite different.
What way?
Tony's vision of our future isn't a cynical one. Tony's is forward-looking, vibrant, and certainly inclusive of all sections of society. And that's what Tony means when he tries...
Tony. Minister, for fuck's sake, listen to yourself. You used to be a member of Tribune. You were a left-winger. Now it's Tony this, Tony that. I mean, have some fucking dignity.
As I was saying, Jeremy, what Tony has shown...
Are you in love with Tony?
No.
You just want to part his buttocks and stick your nose up his arse.
That's not what I said
Well, it's
at all.
what you mean, though, isn't it?
No. Tony has said...
You want to brown nose him.
Tony is trying very hard
fuck off. Kirsty. Joining me now is the Minister of State for Education, Peter Shiplake. Mr. Shiplake, what are you going to do about the crisis in our schools?
Well, I think you would have to be pretty warped to call it a crisis. What we're
The
trying
government released figures today saying there's a shortfall of 10,000 teachers. Isn't that a crisis?
Well, a crisis of sorts.
So a crisis.
Of sorts, but what we're trying to do is...
So if it's a crisis, I'm not warped.
If you look at the profession as a whole...
So don't call me warped.
You will see that this is just a demographic blip.
Apologise.
No, I won't apologise because I'm right.
Apologise now or I'll fucking do you.
Will you let me finish?
Fuck that. Outside now. And over to Kirsty for the rest of the day's headlines. Come on, you slag. You're fucking doing it. Come on. I'm joined in the studio by the leader of the Conservative Party, William Hague.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Mr. Hague, in your speech today, you said of the government, never in the field of human contracts have so many been so deceived by so few. I mean, do you seriously think anyone gives a flying fuck what you think?
Oh.
Kirsty.